Good afternoon and welcome to everyone. I'm Rebecca Vieira and I'm the coordinator of the Inter-American Teacher Education Network, or ITEN for short, an initiative of the Organization of American States. I'm pleased to welcome you to this webinar, one in our series of webinars, COVID-19, Teaching STEM in Quarantine. Before continuing, I'd like to briefly introduce ITEN to those of you who are not familiar with us. The purpose of ITEN is to improve the quality and equity of education through teacher education in the Americas. To do so, we offer funds and activities for educational leaders with the intent to resolve problems of policy and practice related to STEM teacher education, in which STEM refers to science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. To learn more about us and how to get involved, please visit our website, and the link will be shared at the end of this presentation. Presented by teacher fellows, participants, and other supporters of ITEN project teams, this series of webinars' objective is to support the efforts of teachers during this time of quarantine. To join future webinars, again, please visit our webpage. This afternoon, we're pleased to have a presentation from Shaffina Ahamad-Hamid, a distinguished early childhood teacher and an ITEN teacher fellow from the DB Ashja Early Childhood Care and Education Center in Trinidad. Her presentation will be approximately 1 hour. During the presentation, I welcome you to ask questions using the Q&A tool. Please avoid using the chat for your questions just because there's so many comments and messages in there, they'll probably get lost. So please look for the Q&A tool. At the end of her presentation, Shaffina will answer a select number of questions. This webinar will be recorded, and the recording as well as the slides will be linked to the ITEN COVID-19 webinars webpage. In approximately 24 hours, you will receive a notice that the recording is uploaded. The message that you will receive may also serve as evidence of your attendance should you need to show it to your administrators. Additionally, we would like to express our gratitude to the Educational Portal of the Americas, which is providing support to transmit this presentation live via their Facebook page, and especially to our donor, the U.S. Mission to the OAS. At the conclusion of the webinar, please don't forget to complete the brief survey that will be helpful to us in determining future webinars. So thank you very much. And at this point, I'll go ahead and pass the presentation over to Shaffina.
Welcome, and thank you for joining me, where I will be able to share with you some of the experiences that I have had over this past months due to the pandemic that we are all facing, and some of the strategies that we have used to get connected to our children and our parents. So before I begin, I would like to thank, first of all, OS and ITEN for giving me this opportunity to be able to do this and to share with others. And I would also like to thank my Ministry of Education of Trinidad and Tobago for selecting me to represent Trinidad and Tobago at the seminar where I got involved with OS and ITEN. So thank you so much, and I will get into the presentation that I have for you today. So how all of this happened, and when we talk about experiences and strategies, just like schools across the globe, my school and all the other schools in Trinidad and Tobago was closed suddenly due to the current pandemic that we are all facing. One Thursday we were in school, we went to school the Friday, and when we went home, we would know that all schools were being closed from the Monday. So suddenly our schools were closed. We were at home. We did not get the chance to speak to our children and let them know what was happening, and to let them know that everything will be okay despite what will be happening from now on. So we thought a lot about it. When I say we, I speak about me and discussion I would have with the teachers at my school. But first of all, it took me almost 2 weeks to realize what was really happening and to accept this pandemic and what has happened and all the restrictions that were being placed, it was as though you couldn't believe this was happening. And we were not able to go to school. Um, People were not going to work, and it was like you were in like twilight zone. So it took me a while until I joined a meeting with the teacher fellowship. And after listening to everyone speak and speaking about their experiences, I decided then I said, you know what? It was like then it just hit me. Hey, I needed to do something for my children. I needed to find a way to get to my parents and reconnect with my children and to let them know that we are here still and everything will be okay. And that is what led us to start a school WhatsApp group where we were able to now speak to our parents, and through them we were able to keep in touch with our children. So it started simple, and then it continued as we got to know more and we got a little bit more experience. It was a challenge because this was something new for us, and we realized, you know what, all was not lost. We can still have our children continuing their learning through this. So what I would like to do is I would like to share some pictures of, these are pictures that you would see um, of what a day in school used to be like before the pandemic. So we would see our children and they would be close together. They would be sharing, they would be playing. And these are children who are 3 to 5 years old. And here it is, we will be teaching them, that's before the pandemic and before the closure of school, we will be teaching our children about togetherness and about playing together. We will be teaching them about teamwork uh, and all the nice things that you would want young children to grow up knowing and to be able to pass on to others. So this is how they were. They were together, they were playing and having so much fun and all the nice things that you would want for them. And here it is now. So this is when we were in school and how they would be. These pictures are pictures from the team we were doing just before the closure of school due to the pandemic. The team we were doing was Imagine It, Make It. So whatever they imagine, they would make it. So here they had used boxes, and what we do is we focus a lot on the use of recycled materials. So here you would see they have actually built a train using just cardboard boxes. And the other one is where we had a couple of big boxes and we've just placed it in, and we asked them, what do you think we can imagine these boxes to be? And they said they think they would like it to be a cave. And they created a cave out of those boxes with bats and everything that you can imagine that a cave would have. And they had a lot of fun. The cave was made in such a way that they can go into the cave and come out on the other end. So one of the things that we were really getting involved in was STEM activities, which they were really, really loving, because every time we would decide to do a STEM activity, not that we were not doing it before, but the focus had changed. So they would wait for the moment when they would pretend to be young scientists, and they would get into that mode of thinking, and you can actually see like the light bulbs in their heads go off, and they would start to think and they would start to ask the questions, and that was something that we had loved and enjoyed during that term, what was happening, because we were seeing our children growing from the way they was to the way they were becoming. They were becoming so confident. They were not afraid to ask question and to challenge you. And we had really loved that. And the sudden closure of school just stopped us in our tracks. So here it is. They were using, they had used newspaper dowels, and they had created an abstract, they created this abstract thing that they had imagined, and they all got a chance to say what they thought it was. Here is where they used some sticks and they created this shape. When they were through creating the shape, they said it looked like a picture frame. So they used Play-Doh to put a picture into it that they had liked. It was really great. So those were experiences that we had before the pandemic. And that was the way our children were involved in their learning. Then come the pandemic, our schools were suddenly closed. We were at home, our children were at home, wondering what we were going to do. And then we started our school WhatsApp group that took us into a whole other level of how we can get our children and our parents involved. What had happened during that time? We had a lot to work through. A reason being, we, like I told my teachers, I said, we want to do this. We would like to do this. We would like to have our children continue learning. But there was some really important things that we needed to take into consideration. We needed to realize that we were not going to be our children's teachers. Our parents were going to be our children's teachers. So the level of activities that we would plan to deliver to our children at school, physical school, would be different. Here it is, we are willing and we want to do this. We want to continue learning for our children. How are we going to do this? How are we going to cater to the needs of all our children? How are we going to cater to the needs of all our parents? Because the one thing we knew we did not want is we did not want any of our children to be left behind. So we know in our world how things are. They are the ones who will always be on top and will always be able to access everything and to know everything and to do everything. And the ones who are left behind will just get left behind. That's the one thing that we did not want. We wanted more than ever. If we were going to do something to continue learning for our children, we had to ensure that almost 100% of our children will benefit from what we were going to do. So the first thing we had to do is we had to find a way to connect back with our parents. We had some numbers that we had on hand. Then even though our movement were restricted, I had to go around and I had to actually look for some of the children whose contact were either not working anymore or who I just couldn't get onto. So I had to find ways to find them so that I can make sure they were on that group also. And as you may well be thinking, the ones who I could not get in contact with actually were the ones who, if I did not make it my duty to find them, would have been the one who would have been left out, and the ones who probably would have always been left out. So there was no way we were going to do this and those children were going to be left behind. So that started our school WhatsApp group, and where we started to send activities for our children. So we took into consideration the simplicity of the activities, simple enough for all parents to be able to work it with their children without losing the essence of what we wanted the activities to be. So we had to really work that. So it was like working it and trying and trying. And my teachers and I, we would be discussing activities that we would be doing, sometimes almost 10, 11 o'clock in the night. We, we would go back when we feel, okay, so do you think this is simple enough? Do you think our parents will be able to, to relate to this? So, so that is how we did it. We normally, what you will do is we use a different benchmark for our activities. We so this so it suddenly came to me, if we wanted our activities to be able to be done by all our parents, because we have to remember now that we we will be sending the activities, but we will not be able to transfer these activities to our children. It's not us who are going to be delivering those activities. Our parents now are going to be delivering those activities. So I said, so one night I said to my teachers, I say, you know what? We need to have a benchmark. So look, let's look at our parents. And when we write an activity, if in our minds we think that the parent or the parents who are the least able to relate to these activities, if they can relate to it, then we had done our job. And if it is in our mind, we feel as though those parents or parent will not be able to do those activities with their children, then we need to work again. And from that day on, that was the benchmark we used. We made it as simple as possible. We then decided only essentials were open, meaning pharmacies, supermarkets, and things like that were only open. So there were no stationery stores open. There were so there was no availability of resources like for parents to use. So we knew more than ever our focus on the use of recycled materials and the materials that will be available to parents will have to be the way to go. So we had another job to do. We had to ensure that when we developed an activity, the resources that we will be sending to those parents to be used to carry out those activities had to be resources that were available to them at their homes. So it was a whole different spin on what we would do at school, because now those parents, we could not put them at risk to be sending them activities, and they would want to do it, and in order for them to do it, they would have to get resources, and they would have to go out. So we focus on that also. So when I talk about important things that we had to consider, those were some of the important things, like the availability of resources for parents where they are, which was at home, the simplicity of the activities so that they can deliver it to their children. What we also had to do is we got guidelines and tips for parents, because this was even though parents would be assisting their children at home, and they would be reinforcing activities that we would do at school, this was different, because now they were actually assuming the responsibility of being a teacher. So it was different from just reinforcing something at home, like maybe reinforcing a number or a letter, or helping the child to make a craft or something that they're going to take to school. No. This was different. It was different because they were going to now have to read an activity, and they were going to have to do that activity with their child. So we decided we were going to send them from time to time, we would send them guidelines and tips that will help them to realize that they can do it. we had to give them a lot of encouragement and let them know and let them gain the confidence in themselves to know that they can do it. Uh, as we continued with these activities, we realized that, you know what, it was a challenge at first. It was a lot of hard work. We did not know whether this was going to work or it was not going to work, but it did work out after all, because we got so many positive feedbacks from parents thanking us for their support and for being there for them and for being able to help them to continue the learning for their children. So I am speaking a whole lot and I'm forgetting to share my slides. So one of the things we did is we recognize everything that we would do at school, physical, like if we were physically in school, we tried to do it even though we were at home. So what we did, some of the pictures you would see now, these are pictures of activities that have been done by our children while they are at home, and the parents are now are the ones who are helping the children to do these activities with activities that we send to them. So this the one that you're seeing with the letters of the alphabet, we show them how they can use uh, resources available to them. That is just a cardboard box and some craft stick, and it is an interactive alphabet box where they can continue to learn the letters of their alphabet. The one you see in with the word, that is an activity that they did where we recognize Earth Day. So let me go back to that. So these two activities are the ones they did for Earth Day, and the other one is is a learning resource that they made at home. How we started. The first thing we did is we decided we were going to start with an activity that they knew or we were familiar with. So we started with a story about a very hungry caterpillar, because we wanted to make sure that we would be able to do what we have to do, and we can see whether we were going to be able to do it or not. So from the story, these were activities that they did. Then the one with the hands is what they did when we recognize World Hygiene Day. So we sent them an activity where they would appreciate the importance of their hands, and we made a connection between the importance of washing hands as an important way to stay safe during this pandemic. We also did a lot of STEM activities while we were even at home, because they had gotten used to activities that they would do that was simple science experiments. So one of the activities that we did was Sea Pepper Run. And we connected that activity again to show them how, when they wash their hands, because remember we were not in school now, and we still wanted them to get the message of the importance of proper hygiene in the current situation of the pandemic. So we had sent them a video that taught them the steps to take to wash their hands really clean and have it clean. And after we send them the experiment to show them what happens when they wash their hands using soap and water. So the experiment with the sea pepper run was with black pepper and the water and some liquid soap. So what they did is they dipped their finger into the soap and then dipped it in the in the plate with the pepper and the water, and when they dip their hand in there, it will just separate. So we told them that is how when you wash your hands, the germs will just go away from your hands. So we continued with our STEM activities, which we were doing a whole lot of just before school had closed. They also did the one where they used the comb to brush their hair, where they were able to observe static electricity, so where they brushed their hair with a comb, and they were able to then um, take the comb and take up the bits of paper. So that was really amazing for them. The feedback we got from parents is that they said it was like magic. And I remember we telling them a whole lot that science and experiment is a lot like magic, but it is real learning and real knowledge. So it was very important for us to continue those science experiments. Reason being why we chose our current team that we are working with our children is My Home Garden. We chose that team in particular because it will lend itself to the continuation of STEM in a very real and natural way for our children. Through this team, they can learn a whole lot about how things grows, the importance of growing your own food. They can ask a lot of questions. They can actually observe things in real. Like they can an activity they will soon be doing is where they will be able to germinate a seed in a jar. So we want them to do that in a clear container where they would actually be able to see the whole process of the change as the seed grow into a little plant. So we think we have not done that activity as yet. That activity is soon going to be coming up where they would be doing that. And we can't wait to hear what they have to say about that. So the reason being why we chose this theme of My Home Garden. So here it is, as we started the team, some of the children actually went ahead and they actually started their home garden. One of the things that they were asked to do was to make a plan of how they would like their garden to look like. This was one of our little girl's image of what she would like her garden to look like. One of the stories we did with them through our parents was growing my vegetable soup. So this is an activity where one of the children showed all the vegetables they would add to their vegetable soup. So far it has been pretty amazing. We realize that there is a whole lot we can do in the midst of all that is happening and all that is now keeping us away from being at school with our children, not just in Trinidad, but across the globe. Uh, so I want to say to you that as teachers, there's a lot that we can do. We cannot sit down and pretend that school is out, we are at home and our children are at home and we are on one long vacation. We cannot do that. We are teachers and we make a difference. I recently read a quote that said, the best thing about being a teacher is that it matters. But the hardest thing about being a teacher is that it matters every day. And that is something that is really real to me now. That whether we are physically at our school or we are at home, away from our children, we have to make the difference. And as teachers, we can make a difference. One of the things I forget to mention was apart from us us creating our school WhatsApp group, the Ministry of Education of Trinidad and Tobago has also done their part by creating 2 learning platforms for the children of our country. One of it is especially for where our early childhood um, children will go. It is called the EMIS page. So how that works is, as teachers across Trinidad and Tobago, each week we submit 5 activity plans. They go to the curriculum team. The curriculum team go through those activity plans, and then they give permission for they to be posted on that EMIS page. On that page, every early childhood center in Trinidad and Tobago is on that page. So when you log on to that page, you go to your school. For instance, my school would be Debe Astra. So my parents will go onto that school's page, and there those activities will be posted together with other information for parents. So that is something that our ministry has done for education here, apart from what we are doing with our school WhatsApp group. The school WhatsApp group is at the level of our school. The EMIS page is country. So what we also have to do for our parents is, when we would write activities to be posted on the EMIS page, those activities will have to be at a certain standard and at a certain level. So again, what we do in order to ensure that all our parents are able to do those activities with their children, what we do on our school WhatsApp group, each day we break down those same activities and we send them in a simpler form to our parents on the school WhatsApp group. Because we know a lot of parents may have challenges accessing that page for one reason or the other. So we want to make sure that some will not be able to go on it and some will be able to go on it. And for those who cannot for one reason or the other, they still are able to do those activities and continue together with all the other children. Our main focus being that we want some level of learning to happen for our children while we are apart, but especially that no one of our children is left behind. That is most important for us. So those are some of the things that we have been doing here. I have to especially thank the teachers that I work with. They are a great team to work with. They are very supportive and they are very dedicated. And I think at this time, when all of this is happening, I would not have wanted to be working with any other teachers than the teachers that I have with me now. So I thank them very, very much for their support and all that they do in helping us to make this happen. I am very, very pleased that we did not just sit back and just wait until the ministry will do something. We took it upon ourselves to do something that we knew we had to do. And I believe that as teachers, we all have it in us to do the same thing. We sometimes, it's only when something happens and we are put in a position, we realize our real potential. And this has been one of the times when we are realizing all the things that we are really capable of. One being me doing this webinar. This is something I would never have thought I would be doing. It's something that I would never have thought that I would be able to share so many things, not just with my teachers and my little school, but I would be able to share with so many other teachers who may be willing to do some of what we have been doing. I want to let teachers know that if you make up your mind to do something, you can get it done. You will have your challenges. Nothing is as easy as you think, but when you overcome those challenges and you see the result of what you're doing, you appreciate it all the more. So I want to thank you so very much for joining me. I want to thank again, I want to thank OS and thank ITEN. I especially would like to thank Rebecca and Pilar for all the support and the encouragement. You helped me to do the things that I have to do, which I probably may not know that I have the ability to do. So thank you all very much.
Okay. Thank you so much, Shaffina, for sharing your experiences with us. So now what we'd like to do is to take some time for people to ask questions so you can respond. And to do that, again, I encourage people to write your comments in the Q&A. And I've already seen some people have shared some really wonderful resources. So if you are writing in the chat and if you are sharing like web pages and places to get simple and easy activities for young children, make sure that when you post it, you send it to share to all panelists and attendees. Otherwise, only myself, Shaffina, and my colleague Pilar can see it. So please make sure that you do share it there. So Shaffina, we have a number of questions. This one comes from Claudette Faucon Mungal. Shaffina, I find that you and your colleagues' approach from the point of view of what the parents would be able to do at home with children was very insightful. Can you give us some more information about your school? Like how many children, how many teachers? Is it private or public? Just provide a little bit more context for us if you could do that.
Okay, sure. So my school is what in Trinidad we would call a government assisted school, meaning when we talk, when we say, so let me explain a little bit about ours. So we have public schools, we have government assisted schools, and we have private school. The public school and the government assisted schools are very similar. The only difference is that the public school is fully government. It is owned by the government. The government assisted school is a partnership school, but with the input of the government has input in those schools, which is the school, one of the school that I belong to. So the teachers are employed by the government. The children are admitted into the school from the community. We have no criteria that has to do with anything that will keep them out of the school, just like in public school. So the name of my school is Debe Astra Early Childhood Center. And the Astra meaning it is part government based on Islamic principles. Our school is based on the principles of Islam. So it is what you would call a government-assisted school. In Trinidad, when they talk about denominational schools, that will be a school like mine. So it has the input of the government. The teachers are employed by the government. The children come from the community, and they have no particular criteria to get in. So that is the school that I belong to. In my school currently, we have 42 children. We go up to 54, and we have 3 teachers. So that is how our school is.
Thank you so much. Let's see, we have some additional questions about parental involvement. One of the questions is, what would you recommend if there is no help from parents at home? And in general, how do you keep parents engaged?
one of the things that we are very successful at our school is our parent involvement. And I think it has to do with how teachers interact with parents and how we, in simple words, is how you see your parents. If you see your parent as being an important part of what you are doing, they will see themselves as being important. So one of the things we have always been praised about for our school is our great parent involvement. So that is something that we realize more than anything else is your approach to parents. If you want your parents to be a part of what you are doing and you want them to be involved, you have to respect your parents. You have to let them know that they are important. You have to let them know that without them, you cannot do what you are doing. You cannot be the one on the pedestal and believe that they are there and they have to come to you. You have to go to them. You have to be very open-minded. You have to have open arms, and you have to be able to welcome them into your school. So that is very important for us, having our parents involved in school. And the way we do it is by the way we approach our parents and the way we make them feel. We make them feel that they are very important to us, the same way their children are important to us. If what matters to them matters to us.
Very well said. Partners in teaching, right?
Yeah.
Let's see here. So somebody else says, I'm very impressed with the creative activities described before the pandemic. What do you think has been lost, and what do you think has been gained in adapting activities for school at home?
What we tried to do when we now started, and we started the WhatsApp group where we would share activities with our parents to be able to do with their children, we did not know the extent to which we can do these activities. We thought we would just send them activities that they would be able to just continue at some level. We would be able to continue their children having some level of learning happening. So that's how we started. And eventually we realized that, you know what? It doesn't have to stop there. Because first of all, we had to get our parents, get them a little bit accustomed to doing this. And they were parents who are now put in the position of having to teach their children almost in a similar manner to the way we would be teaching their children at school. So they had actually become teachers. So we started them off with simple activities where they would be able to build their confidence to know, you know what, with our teachers' support and with what they are sending us, we can do this. Eventually, we realized we did not have to stop at simple activities. We realized that first, what we did is we introduced them to a simple science experiment where again, like I said, we focus a lot on recyclable materials. So one of the first thing I said, so in our minds, we knew we were sending them, it was more or less an engineering activity where they were going to make rolling walking feet. So we said to ourselves, if our parents with our guidelines can get our children to complete this activity, then we are well on our way to getting back into doing those activities, those creative activities, those science-based activities, those engineer with all the STEM-related components. So we sent that activity as a, how you would say, as a trial to see if it could be done, if parents will be able to, through the instruction we will send, if they will be able to get it done. So the rolling walking feet went to them, and before we knew it, we were being sent videos where the children had made their rolling walking feet, and they were trying it out. I am so sorry that uh, I did that picture that was not posted. Um, and they were actually trying out that rolling walking feet, and they had made it, with the help of their parents. And we realized more than anything else that our parents were really enjoying those activities. They were having as much fun with those activities like their children, because we could have hear them in the background. We heard their reactions in the background, and they were all so amazed, and they couldn't believe this. And you know what they used for the roll and walking feet? Some of them use like a paper roll. Some of them use a sturdy roll of tape for the middle. If you want, you can go up on YouTube, and you can Google roll and walking feet, and you will actually see what I am talking about. And what you see is what they made. And so they use that as sturdy roll, and then they use straws, and how we do our activities, it always goes back to our children. So they use their children's feet, so we turn it into activity that is always connected back to our children. So they trace their children's feet on cardboard, cut it out, and then they completed their roll and walking feet. So that was one amazing activity that they done. So from what we are seeing, we now feel that we have not lost that, even though we are at home, because we realize we can do a lot more, and we're going to continue to engage our parents and our children in a whole lot more activities like that. Because sometimes one of the things we always done is we are very creative. We are always into doing very creative things. And we realized that when we chose the team just before school closed, imagine it, make it. And remember, we would be telling the children, so anything you imagine, you can make it. So here we had put ourselves in a real position, because no matter what they say they imagine, we would have to make it. So we realized then that no matter what you wanted to do, you can do it. And the resources were available. That was one particular time when we realized if we ever thought materials to be used was everywhere, that was one time when we saw the use in almost anything that was around us. Anything that you could put your hands on, you can make something with it, you can use something with it, and you can turn it into something creative and awesome. So that is what we did. And that is how we plan to continue that creativity. So we think it has not been lost, even though we are at home.
Wonderful. Thank you for such a detailed and rich response with great examples. I also noticed that walking rolling feet, somebody has put the link to a YouTube video in case people would like to check it out. We have a number of people who are asking, how many assignments do you give each day to students? And then how do you assess them?
Are you talking about like the activities that we are sending to children now that we are at home?
Correct, yes.
So what we do is we send one activity per day. We do not send more than one activity. So there are 5 days in the week. So each day we send them one activity. The weekend is off. If we have a public holiday, they're off, unless they decide that they want to continue to do something. So just one activity per day. And how we do the assessment is the activities are assessed through the parents. When we give directions or instructions to parents, so we say to parents, so parents, this is what you can do. So let's say for an activity, we're going to use questioning as the assessment. So we would say to parents, on the assessment, we will say questioning. And we would say, parents, you can ask the following question. and we will list the question to give the parents a guideline as to what question they can ask the children. So when we list the question, the parents will ask the children the question. Let's say it's an observation. We will say on their assessment, we would say to the parent, so children will be assessed throughout the activity as you interact with them. How we know it is happening, on 2 days of the week, we open up our WhatsApp group for 1 hour where we meet with our parents and our children, and they show us the work that they have been doing. They tell us how it has been going, and they give us feedback. So that is how we know whether these activities are being done successfully, whether the children are able to do it or they are not able to do it. Because one of the things we allow parents to do is we let them know that they are welcome to ask us any question. If they are having any difficulties, they can let us know. If anything in particular is a challenge for them, they let us know. So that is how we get feedback. We get feedback when we open our group 2 days of the week for 1 hour. Sometimes we go more than that, depending on how many parents come on at that time. It is not hard and fast that we say we're going to open for 1 hour and we stay open. Sometimes it is extended, depending on whether parents have a lot of questions or what they are doing. So through the parents, our children assess with the activities that we send them. We also ask them to take pictures, they send videos, so that way we also can see how they are managing these activities, whether there are anything that we need to change or do differently. That is how we know. So that we get that assessment done through the feedback that we get from parents.
Wonderful, thank you. So we have a few questions about what is the reopening of school going to look like, especially if parents are being asked to go to work before schools open?
That is something that we have been asked to think about too. It is something that we are all thinking about now, because our ministry is looking at opening up schools in September. So we are all thinking about how it is going to happen, how it is going to work. Like I said earlier, we are thinking that the older children will be able to follow certain procedures, certain guidelines, but we are wondering how are these procedures and guidelines going to be met by the children of the age we teach, which is between the ages of 3 to 5. I think we will have to do a whole lot more. I don't see how our children are going to understand, because when they come into school, the first thing they do on morning is they give you a hug. One of the things we do at our school that is a custom is that each morning after we do our circle time, a teacher stands at the door and greets each child before they enter back into the school with either a hug, a high five, a bounce, or a shake hand. So that is a part of us. It is a part of who we are and how we interact with our children. Our greatest concern now is going to be, how do we say to our children that we have to stay away from each other while we are together? How is it do we say to our children that you cannot be playing with your friends at how are they going to do that? How are they going to be playing with their friends from apart from each other? Children naturally have the tendency to gravitate to each other. So that is a really difficult question, and we are thinking a whole lot about that. If anybody has any ideas as to how we can make it easier, it will be great to hear, but that is our thoughts on that for right now. How is it we are going to get our children to understand things are going to be different? Yeah.
Definitely. All right, as we come to the close to the end of the hour, I have a few questions, just maybe two or so more. One question is, how does this currently work with students with disabilities? If you have experience with that, for example, are you giving them extended time? Do you have any guidance or suggestions?
How we work with our children who have special needs is by the way we develop our activities. When we develop our activities, they are considered first hand even before those activities are planned. So we always take into consideration if we have special needs children in our midst, how our activities are going to be developed to make sure that they are included. So from the very beginning, when we write our activities, they have already been, their needs have already been catered to. So some of the things we might do is we might have that child spend a longer amount of time doing the same activity. There might be a child who we may have to encourage a lot more. We may have a child who we may need to have sitting closer to us, to give them that confidence to interact like the other children. We may have to, that while that child may be with us at group time, after group time is over, we may have to have another time where we will sit with that child in particular to make sure that what was done was really understood and the child was able to get what we wanted that child to get out of it. So those are some of the things we do. Also, what we do is we encourage parents help. We allow them to, sometimes they could come in and they could see the work that the children are doing and they can continue it at home. And we encourage parents to share, like if they are the best ones who know the needs of their children, and we always look to them for help. So this is what is happening to your child. Do you have any ideas as to how we can ensure that this child is not left out? So we always look to parents also for ideas and guidelines, how we can do what we do better to make sure that all children are always engaged and none of the children are left out.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Shaffina, for all of your presentation and the efforts you put into that today. There are still some questions remaining, but we do have, unfortunately, another event that's happening in just a few minutes on Zoom, and so we do need to close out. Do you have any final words or guidance that you would like to give today's attendees?
I would like to say that as teachers, whether we are physically at school or we are at home due to the current pandemic, there is no excuse or any reason why we cannot do what we need to do. As teachers, we have a responsibility to ensure that all our children are doing some amount of learning. And if we are teachers and we are not doing that, then we need to rethink our positions. And I think if we can do it, I think all teachers have what it takes to do something to get their children learning done. Teachers are who make things happen, and we can do it. We can make a huge difference.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Shaffina. Those are some very powerful and inspiring words and remind us why we're doing what we're doing under any circumstances. So again, thank you so much to everybody who came, especially to Shaffina for her efforts. Please do complete the survey on your way out. A window will open up. And please make sure that you do visit our website. If you have any further questions, you can always send me an email or respond to the email that you get from us. And within 24 hours, the recording and the slides will be online. And I hope that you will join us at future webinars. So again, thank you. Have a wonderful afternoon, and please stay safe.